You know what gets me? Sometimes the system we trust the most is the one that turns on you in the blink of an eye, and all you could do is sit there, wondering if anyone will ever believe the truth, or if you'll just go down as another statistic. That's pretty much where my story starts. You want a hook? Picture this. I'm sitting in a freezing courtroom, hands trembling but face calm as stone, while the judge pronounces a sentence most folks only ever hear about in movies: death by lethal injection. Yeah, that happened. Amaya Rodriguez, Army vet, 3 tours in Afghanistan, one leg short but still standing. On that day, though, the only thing I could feel was the cold weight of disbelief as my fate got sealed, not just for me, but for my dead-retired Sergeant Major Victor Rodriguez sitting in his wheelchair in the back row, clutching the leash of Atlas, my German Shepherd. Atlas had been my shadow since the day I came home broken. Now, he was the only one in the room whose faith in me didn't waver, not even when the rest of the world turned its back. See, the evidence was all there, lined up neat, as you please me fingerprints on a murder weapon, my blood at the scene, security footage showing my car nearby. The prosecution painted me as a ticking time bomb, a PT-riddled veteran finally snapping and taking revenge on my old commanding officer, Colonel Westfield, the man who denied my medical leave. What the jury never heard was the part where Westfield had covered up sexual assault in our unit and threatened to block my benefits if I ever spoke up. The judge said that was prejudicial, so it never made it past the courtroom doors. As the bailiff led me away, I caught my dad's eye and called out, "Take care of Atlas. Don't let them put him down." Atlas whined, pulling against the leash, and if you ever heard a sound so mournful it cut through your bones, you'd understand why folks say dogs know the truth before any of us do. That was the last I saw of home for a while. But for Atlas and my dad, the fight had only just started. 3 weeks later, Dad's living room looked like a war room crime scene: photos, timelines, stacks of legal pads. My public defender, Sam Winters, dropped by most nights, hoping for a miracle. I'm not going to lie, most of the time, it felt hopeless. Atlas hardly ate, barely moved from his spot by the window. But one night, the bell rings and Atlas, ears up, is all business. On the porch is Lieutenant Diane Foster, a woman with that unmistakable military posture, and she says the words that flip everything upside down: "I don't think Maya killed him." Turns out, Foster served under me in Afghanistan. She was scared to have been warned off by Major Philip Garrison, Westfield's replacement. But she couldn't let it go, especially after she started connecting dots. Westfield was up to his neck in a contract fraud scheme, skimming millions from programs meant for wounded vets. And the night he was murdered, Garrison showed up at his house an hour after I left. Funny how that security footage disappeared, right? Foster handed over USB drive. Maya had given here mails, spreadsheets, proof of fraud, but nothing that put the murder on Garrison. That's when Atlas, as if on cue, started pawing at my old duffel bag. Inside, tucked with my prosthetic running blade, was my GPS tracker from the morning Westfield died. Sam plugged it in, and boom, there was my 5-mile route. Nowhere near Westfield's house when the murder went down. Circumstantial? Sure. But one more crack in the wall they'd built around me. But Atlas wasn't done. He blocked the door and barked until Dad finally clipped on the leash. That dog led them straight to the military base, through a barely open maintenance gate, right to a dumpster behind a shed. And there, under a pile of debris, Sam found a blood-stained uniform jacket, Major Garrison's, with Colonel Westfield's blood on it. Chain of custody or not, that was big. They needed someone above the local chain of command, someone they could trust. Enter Special Agent Camila Ortiz, Army CIDO woman with nerves of steel and a history with my dad. When Foster showed up scared out of her wits, claiming she was being followed by a black SUV, Ortiz's skepticism turned to determination. They were running out of time, man. So was I. And just when they thought they could breathe, someone tried breaking into Dad's house. It was a military police corporal, sent on Garrison's orders to secure the evidence. Atlas didn't hesitate. He dragged that man into the living room like he was delivering the morning paper. That broke things wide open. Ortiz's team took over, but then the governor moved up my execution date 10 days left, and the system itself was pulling strings to make sure I wouldn't see daylight again. Garrison knew the net was closing in. In the middle of all this, Atlas started acting up again this time, leading Dad and Sam to the records office on base, with help from Sergeant Willis, whose own family had suffered at the hands of the system. Inside, they found what the jury never did. The original forensic report showed 2 blood types on the knife, not just Westfield's, but an unidentified second sample, something suppressed at my trial. Garrison had also requested Westfield's personal effects for ongoing investigation. How convenient. Back at Dad's house, Foster and Ortiz cracked the memory card hidden in my duffel bag. It was a recording of my last confrontation with Westfield, telling him I had the financial records, him threatening me warning him if anything happened, the Inspector General would get everything. Motive, opportunity, and finally evidence. They had just enough for Ortiz to push for an emergency stay of execution. But then the lights went out literally. Garrison's men moved in, taking everyone hostage. In that chaos, Victor came up with a plan only a desperate man and a loyal dog would dream up. Strap the evidence to Atlas's vest and send him to the one person who'd listened, General Winters, the base commander who had known me since I was a rookie. Atlas slipped into the night like a shadow, dodging patrols, ducking through a garden window, and landing in the general's study just as Winters was burning the midnight oil. When Winters read the note and reviewed the files, he didn't hesitate. He called in the MPs, surrounded the house, and arrested Garrison and his goons on the spot. For the first time in months, Dad broke down in tears, hugging Atlas and whispering, "You did it, boy. You saved her." 3 weeks later, I walked out of prison into sunlight I thought I'd never see again. The governor vacated my sentence and issued a full pardon. Atlas bolted across the lawn to meet me, knocking me down and covering my face in kisses as my dad watched with tears in his eyes. "That dog knew you were innocent from the start," he said. "He just needed to show the rest of us how to prove it." Turns out, the ripples didn't stop there. Ortiz's investigation swept up a dozen corrupt officers. The stolen money started making its way back to veteran programs, and Foster was put in charge of reforming the whole system. The Army offered to reinstate me with back pay and a shiny new rank, but I'd seen enough. I wanted to serve in a different way. 6 months later, we opened the Maya Rodriguez Veterans Advocacy Center. Legal aid, medical help, service dogs for veterans who were falling through the cracks, just like I almost did. Atlas became the heart of the place, training puppies, comforting warriors who'd seen too much. On opening day, with General Winters standing in the crowd and the press taking notes, I told everyone the real truth. What saved me wasn't the system. It was a dog's loyalty to a dog who knew the truth when no one else would listen. Sometimes justice has 4 legs and a wet nose. The applause was loud, but the meaning went deeper. When a young vet walked up with a German Shepherd puppy, a first graduate of our program, I smiled through tears and said, "We're calling him Justice." Atlas gave the pup an approving nudge, as if passing the torch. So let me ask you, in a world where the powerful rewrite the rules and the weak are expected to take the fall, what does real justice look like? Is it a courtroom verdict? Or is it the quiet, stubborn loyalty that refuses to give up even when the odds are impossible? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe there's more to justice than what's written in the law books, share this story. Someone out there needs to hear it.